Hi, welcome back to the workshop for what is always an exciting day, the first video in a new build series. And I think this is going to be a really exciting build for me because it is definitely the most challenging thing I've ever done in terms of building a guitar. But it's also going to give me the opportunity to learn loads and loads of new skills. Now, there was a fair amount of discussion in the comments on the last video about what this build was actually going to be. And I was amazed at the number of people that actually got it right. And in case you didn't pick it up from the thumbnail, I'm actually going to be building my version of an ES335. Now, this will be a challenging build, mainly because the way this guitar would be made in a factory is completely different from how I'm able to do it, mainly because I haven't got the tools and the equipment necessary to do it the way that, say, Gibson would do it. However, this doesn't make it impossible. It just means I'm going to have to go about it in a different manner and possibly use some different materials. So talking of materials, let's get down on the bench and we'll see what I've got in for this build. Now, the top and the back of a traditional 335 are laminated veneers. These days that's a mixture of maple and poplar. It's varied from year to year. Now, to manufacture that laminate you actually need some heavy duty equipment. You either need a really heavy duty press or a vacuum bag to form the laminate in that way. I don't have either of those and I don't intend to get them, A, because I haven't got the space, and B, because it's a lot of financial outlay. So what I'm going to have to do is to carve the top and the back from solid pieces of wood. That's going to be a huge amount of work and very challenging, but if I'm honest, that's the bit I'm really looking forward to. And the first thing that I've got is a billet of curly maple. You can't really see it in this shot. That is so big I can't even get it all into the camera shot. This plank is just over 7 foot long. It's about 11 inches wide and 2 inches thick, and this will give me more than enough material to make the top and the back. The sides of this guitar are, however, going to have to be laminated. There's no way around that, and as it stands I haven't got a really firm plan how I'm going to achieve this, but I've got the beginnings of one. And what I plan to use for the ribs are these, and these are pieces of structural veneer in maple. And these are about 1.5 millimeters thick. As you can see, it's quite flexible as it is, but probably not flexible enough to go around the tight radiuses that we will need to make it go round if we're going to form the ribs out of it. Now, my plan is to use 3 of these together, which will give me a total rib thickness of about 4.5 mil. That's a little bit thicker than is specified in the plan, but that's what we're going to get. The idea I have at the moment is that I'm going to steam these to soften them up. As for the rest of the materials, I've got a great big chunk of sapele, which is about 4 inches wide, 2 inches thick. I'm probably thinking I can get 3 necks out of this block, which is great because it means if I mess up I've got plenty of material. I need to buy a fingerboard blank, that will be rosewood. Other than that, and a block of plain maple to go down the centre of the inside of the body, that's all the materials dealt with. Okay, so that's the timber. But I can't really move forward with this build until I really understand what it is I'm going to build. So to that end, I'm going to need a set of plans and some templates. And these are the plans I've got. They're a set from a company called John Anthony Guitars here in the UK. Now, I've used these plans in the past and they are okay, but there are 1 or 2 caveats with that. Quite a lot of the lines are really quite thick, so when you're trying to kind of take a precise measurement from those lines, that can make it a little bit awkward. So to that end, what I do is I will use these plans to give me an idea of the shapes I want to do, but anything that's kind of structural and vital in terms of the layout and the playability of the guitar will be done with measurements or with templates, etc. but they are a really, really good starting point. I'm pretty sure if I searched around enough on the internet, I'd be able to find a set of 335 templates to buy, but generally they're really, really expensive for what they are, so I don't bother with them. Similarly, I could buy multiple copies of this plan and cut them up to make the templates myself, and I've done that in the past, but also that does add quite a bit of cost to your builds. So what I do instead now is I've bought a great big long roll of tracing paper, and I simply bought this from Amazon, and I think this was about a tenner. There's 50 meters on here, so this will last me quite a long time, and I use this to make tracings of all the elements on the plan that I need to form my set of templates. However, before I do that, I have made other Gibson style guitars in the past, so it's always worth checking if the templates that I've already got will do the job. There's no point doing them more than once. So I've got a few templates out, and I just want to check them just to make sure that I'm not doing way more work than I need to. And what I found is, first off, the fretboard is exactly the same as the template I've got, so there's no need to do anything with that. And the same is true of the headstock. So that's two jobs I don't have to do. However, the neck templates I've got are nowhere near the same, so that's obviously not going to work. So for the time being, that leaves me needing to make a template for the main body with the layout for all the controls and the bridge and the tailpiece, etc. I will have them there for reference purposes, but I will probably measure them when I get to the stage of mounting the bridge, just to make sure they are in exactly the right position. Same with the fretboard. I've got a template to cut the fret slots, so I won't be bothering with these measurements. I know that the template will do a better job. I will need to make a neck template, but I'm not making the neck just yet, so that can wait for a little while. But I will need to make the little set of templates that are on this drawing that are used to do the initial routing for the carve on the top and the back. So I'm going to trace all of this up now, and then we can go about making that first set of templates. Okay, so what I'm doing here is just attaching the thin tracing paper over the top of the printed plan and just holding it down with some low tack masking tape. Doesn't really show up in the video, but you can see the lines on the plan really well through this paper. And it's just a matter of following them round with the French curves to make sure you get a nice clean line. I'm also going to mark the location for the bridge and tailpiece, but I'll make sure that those locations are actually measured very, very accurately when we put the guitar together. Once I've got the tracing completed, I'm then just going to attach it onto some 1/2 inch MDF with some spray mounts. And take it to the bandsaw. I'm trying to cut as close to the line as I can here. Then with the bulk of the waste off, I'll get it to the disc sander. I've got an 80 grit disc on here and it's set up to be perfectly square, so I know I'm getting a nice square edge onto the template as I sand it round. I can get the bulk of it on this sander. I can get right exactly where I need to be, but I can't do in the little concave areas. So once I finish this process, I'll then take it to my oscillating bobbin sander and just use a couple of different size drums to sand in the rest of it. And then finally, it's just a case of going around it with some quite rough sandpaper on a block, just smoothing in all the edges and the curves to make it a nice fluid shape. And then finally, we'll just add the centre line right the way around the template. And there we have the first template kind of sort of completed. I'm not going to cut the F-holes out on this one just yet. I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to go about that on the finished piece. So I'm going to leave that. There's no point doing that yet if we don't need to. You may have also noticed that it's absolutely roasting in the workshop today. Physically sweating, just doing the slightest of jobs. We have about a week and a half of summer generally in England, and this is now, and it's kind of about 32, 33 degrees in the shop. Okay, so there's the first of many templates done. It's also worth mentioning as well that there's quite a lot of kind of jigs and fixtures and clamps and all sorts of bits and bobs that I'm going to have to produce during the course of this build. I'm going to detail all of that stuff. I want this to be as complete as possible. So that means that this build is probably going to run into quite a few episodes. It's also the case that I've got a major overhaul of the workshop coming in the next few months. The way I use this workshop has changed dramatically in the last year. I never envisaged making videos in this shop at all, and it's really not laid out very well for that. So I'm going to be completely reconfiguring everything, and that is going to have to coincide with this build. So there might be one or two little gaps in between episodes as I get other stuff completed, but I'll try and make it as consistent as I possibly can. Another possibility is that I continue with the 2 weekly guitar related videos and then add some other content in on a kind of infrequent basis on a Saturday. So smaller videos, just going over some of the work I'm doing in the shop, etc. Let me know what you think about that idea in the comments. I'm going to be back very shortly when I'll start breaking that huge lump of mahogany down into smaller pieces and start machining that and fashioning it into the 2 billets that are going to form the top and the back of this guitar. So as always, drop me a like if you found this useful or even vaguely entertaining. If you haven't already done so, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on future videos, and I'll look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye bye.